I love September because it always feels like a fresh start. So this month for our journal, we're doing a large calendar, a goals and habits page, and a cover that I cannot wait to share. Hey friends, what's up? Welcome back. My name is Shayda and it is finally time for our September plan with me. We're going to work through our journal. If you're setting up a journal for the fall, for back to school, I've got you covered. I'm working in my Baron Fig notebook. I highly recommend this notebook. It has great paper quality. This is my second one. I had to start a new notebook in July. Then for August, we did Glads as our theme. I'm doing all the birth flowers this year. So I always do a Dutch store cover page with my goals and affirmations underneath. Normally we do a calendar. Mine was really tiny for August. We're gonna change that up this month. We did a fun summer list. If you're interested in that, that is in last month's plan with me, the August one. So August, we've been away a lot. We've been on vacation. So we're already into the third week, and this is really my first week using my planner this month. I didn't use it while we were camping, obviously. This little fun spread, I'm just gonna flip right by that because that will be out in a video next week, so you can read all about it next week or watch all about it. But let's just get into our cover page. As usual, I'm doing the cutaway or the Dutch door. And I want to mention that if you are a channel patron, Patreon is where I give all my bonus content. It's a great way to support the channel. Patrons can print the September cover page and all the cover pages. Bonus content starts at a couple bucks a month. So for September, we are doing a really cute design with asters. It is the birth flower. What I'm going to do here is I've printed off the September title in a nice font, just printed it really quick on scrap paper, put a little pencil graphite on the back, then place it on the page wherever you like. I kind of put mine centered and low, and we're just going to trace over those letters. You don't have to get them perfect, just, you know, kind of carefully go over them, and the graphite on the back will transfer really lightly to the page below. And if you mess it up, you just erase it. So no stress. I quickly went over it, and now we are going to talk color palette. So asters are typically the periwinkle petals with the yellow stamen. So I'm working in a nice complementary palette of purples and yellows. I will list my colors below. I work with mostly Faber-Castell brush pens, and then I have a few Tombows just because Faber-Castell doesn't seem to have a lot of great purples. So I've got a couple purple Tombows, but you can see the color palette coming together. Lots of blues and purples and warm yellows and browns. With our title transferred and our color palette all figured out, it becomes a really easy cover page to achieve, to create. So you can do this. It's gonna look really fancy, I think, and really pretty, but it's so simple. So start with the center of the flower, just do some dots with a nice yellow or brown, then grab a blue or purple, and you're just gonna do a whole bunch of lines, a big burst of lines, because asters have those really tiny, thin petals. So start with that little circle of dots, basically little yellow dots, and then grab the purple and just make a messy burst of little thin petals, just some lines. It's a great idea if you have a couple purples and blues to layer the colors a little bit. That will just give you just a bit more of a sophisticated look, and it adds a little depth and dimension to your cover page. And you can see here I'm kind of making asters of all different sizes. Some are tiny, some are a little larger, some are on a bit of an angle, and the way I make them look angled is I just keep the petals at the bottom of the flower really short, so it looks a little more concave. And then some of the flowers are on an angle, so you actually don't see the yellow in the center at all. And again, I'm layering my purples and blues to give me a little more oomph, and also to help me create a perfect periwinkle, because I really don't have a periwinkle marker. And speaking of layering, we're going to add a little bit of brown to those stamens. Same idea, just helps with the look of depth and dimension. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring our video today. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey. There are classes on literally everything from creative writing to watercolor painting, hand lettering, and illustration. And now the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the video description will get a 2-month free trial of premium membership so you can explore your creativity. All right, this is coming together. I hope you feel like this is doable because once you transfer that little September title, it's so simple to just do a big burst of these little flowers in behind the letters. And you may have noticed when I did my color palette, I did not add a green. We talked about this a little bit last month, but kind of changing the color of your flowers slightly can really elevate the whole piece and make it just look unique and yours and really interesting. And basically this is a really long way of saying that my stems are gray. Yes, this is just my excuse for working in more gray basically. But it gives a certain sort of different look, and I really like the way the periwinkles and pinks look with the brown and dark gray. So we'll just put in all these stems. I did block out some of them in pencil first just so I knew I would be happy with the placement, and you can see me adding lots of little leaves in there as well. And the leaves are basically just little lines or very thin ovals. And then with that done, or almost done, we are going to do the most difficult, scariest step. You can see me like trying to get the pen comfortable in my hand. But I'm using the 05 nib of my Pigma Micron pen, so a larger nib size, and I am just carefully, so carefully going around these letters. Just go slow. I find it easiest to pull the pen towards my body. That helps me to keep it steady, but do whatever works for you. And then if you do make a mistake, it's okay, because get this, we're going to add a shadow. I am going to use my Koi brush pen just because the Koi pen, as for a brush, it comes to a much finer point than the Faber-Castells, but you could use any larger brush pen or marker for this. And we are going to add a shadow on the top and right-hand side of each letter. And that's really helpful because if you mess up with your pen with the Pigma Micron, you can kind of hide it when you add the shadow because it's just, you know, that area of the letter is going to be that much thicker. So you can hide a lot of little mistakes. Okay, and then kind of stepping back, take a look at your piece. If you need another little flower here or a leaf up here, a good tip is to add some smaller flowers and leaves at the top and sides of the piece. That'll just look nice and help balance everything. And I added a whole bunch of lines at the bottom so that it would look like a big, thick burst of flowers. Okay, next step, that's done. So we are going to cut out our Dutch door, slip a cutting mat underneath that page, get a paper knife and a nice ruler, a metal ruler is great, and you're going to cut along the straight edge. Then using that knife, we'll go carefully around and just do a nice organic line around the flowers. I don't do a lot of detail or anything. You can see I just did a curving line and it looks nice. Okay, our Dutch door is done. I did have my calendar at the bottom. I'm going to place it at the top, and I will do that in pencil first and then go over it in pen. So really simple. I tend to use the smallest nib size for those little numbers, so the 005 or the 01. And finally, I want to add a fun little element, and that is a color palette swatch or a color swatch. I'm taking every color that I've used in the piece and I'm just adding it to the page below. You can see it coming together here. And I don't know why I thought this would be a good idea. I just thought it would be fun to kind of mark out all the colors that I had used, and I'll highlight the calendar. And yeah, I want to say that's done, except I'm watching this back and I know that I added more. So I thought I was done, but then I thought, wouldn't this be cute and wouldn't it look so much more lively if I added a few insects or butterflies? So that's exactly what I did. I didn't overthink it. This was kind of one of those things that you just at the last minute, you're like, what about a butterfly? So they're kind of random shapes, and some of them are almost barely more than an X. But what I did is just colored them in with some random lines. Then I took my favorite white gel pen and I just added a few dots. So they look intricate, but they are really not. If you are interested in that gel pen, it is listed in the video description, and all supplies are now on the blog as well. That's all done. I think it's done anyways. And underneath here on the page below where I keep all my affirmations and goals, I just want to quickly sketch some asters. So doing a cluster, a very vertical cluster of 3 or 4 is super simple, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'll rush through this a little so I don't bore you too much with like a whole second illustration of asters, but I'm following the same formula, just, doing these really thin lines for the petals, layering my marker a little bit to give me that nice depth and dimension. I'm keeping my leaves and stems gray instead of green, and this one I decided I would add my sketchy black line, because I gotta have a little bit of that at least, and I just went over everything, but in a really messy illustrative way. And I'm adding my little tiny butterflies and insects to this piece as well. Okay, our Dutch Door September cover page is looking good. The last thing I wanted to do, I don't know, for some reason, I just thought it would be kind of cute to add a really light gray, almost like grass or flowers that you can't quite see. So that's what I'm doing there. Then I wrote in my goals and focus. I do that every month, and focus for me is just my affirmations. So I always have a little list, and then we'll write September and the flower, asters, and we'll get rid of all the pencil and the eraser dust, and there we go, the September cover page. This time, it really is all done. The next thing we're going to do together is a large 2-page calendar spread. There's something about September. I always have the feeling of a new year, of back to school, a fresh start, and it's a busy time. So we're doing a large calendar with a 5x5 square. I've just spread it across 2 pages, but I didn't put it right in the middle. I just offset it a little bit. So do it in pencil first, figure out how large you want to make yours. And then for my little asters poking out from behind the calendar, I am blocking them all out by drawing circles. The circle shows me exactly how large I want each flower to be, and then the little circle in the middle shows where the center of that flower will be. So doing that first will help you to have a more successful illustration, but you can create it really quickly because this is journaling. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're just doing quick sketches and doodles. I am going over everything with my graphic line marker from Derwent. You can use your Pigma Microns. I just like to switch it up. Depends if you've got one or the other. Maybe you want to see how it looks on mine, so I like to try a few different products in the videos. And yeah, because I have a guide already in place with those circles, it's really easy for me to kind of input the petals, and I don't have like way too many petals on one side, or oh, that got really unbalanced. So just drawing the circle guide first is so helpful, and basically I'm just going over everything really quick, making it very messy, very sketchy, not super detailed. And then we are going to go over that grid. Again, I'm allergic to rulers. I just like to pull the pen toward my body so I keep it fairly steady, and I get a nice perfectly imperfect hand-drawn calendar. And I decided to leave the bottom open there, and that just gives me the perfect spot where there are no more days to put the title, September. So that's why I did it like that. And I'm just kind of finishing up my little sketch. I think what I want to do is just to give the whole page a little more oomph and contrast, I'm going to color in the boxes across the top. I am just using my Faber-Castell brush marker for this. The Koi brush marker would also be great. They tend not to bleed through the page the way a pen would, so that's a nice tip. And then I decided I want to add a little more contrast to the doodle or the sketch as well, and I'm just adding kind of some line shading on the leaves and a bit more line shading at the center of each flower. I'm using my white gel pen to add the days of the week. Remember, if you're curious about any of these supplies, we now have a blog, so head over there after the video for photos of the artwork and to get the supply links if you want to shop the supplies for this video. Okay, erasing all my pencil. That looks crisp and clean, and my large September calendar is all done. What's next, you ask? Well, we're gonna do a fun little spread that's all about goals and gratitude, because as I said, September kind of feels always like a new year, a fresh start. So grab a Pigma Micron or a graphic line marker, any kind of fine liner will do. I've drawn 3 boxes in pencil. They're all the same size and they're equally spaced. And this is such a fun way to do an interesting illustration that doesn't take long, and it's a lot of bang for your buck, as I would say. Yeah, okay, let's move on. So what I'm doing is basically just sketching in or doodling some leaves and flowers, and we're going to fill in each square. I'm sure you can see how this is coming together. And the main thing is that you do not go over that pencil line. So that pencil square is your guide. You want to draw leaves and flowers right up against the line, but not over it. And every flower and leaf will just end on the line and not go over. Okay, you get it. It's like a 5-year-old could. Yeah. Anyways, so if you're drawing something a little more complicated than leaves, you may want to do it in pencil first. That's what I chose to do for the flowers. I was confident with the leaves. Then with the flowers, I was like, you know what? I just want to block it out in pencil. Makes me more comfortable. So anything goes here. You could do, citrus slices. You could do little butterflies, or just stick with leaves only. They could all be leaves, just different shapes and sizes. And this would look so nice. I'm adding a lot of line shading to my flowers and to the leaves just to give me that nice contrast. It just makes the whole thing appear so much more detailed, but it's not hard to do. And then finally in the bottom square here, I've done leaves, I've done flowers and leaves, and in this one I'm kind of doing like really delicate leaves, almost like little ferns. If you're just getting started with drawing and illustration and you're kind of starting to add more doodles to your bullet journal, I have a video called My Top 5 Drawing Tips. It's really helpful stuff, especially for doing drawings just like the ones you see here. So I will link that in the video description as well. It's just a helpful video that I think you'll really enjoy. Okay, let's do the fun step and get rid of those pencil boxes, and now you can see that just looks so crisp and clean. And it's a nice way to create this really pretty and well-organized list of 3. I'm writing down things I'm grateful for, good habits that I want to keep or maintain in September, and then some goals for the autumn ahead. Okay, so that is all done. We've got this simple list. You could use that for anything. That could be your grocery list, whatever. And the last thing we're going to do together today is a weekly layout. Now, if we flip back, August, I was away a lot. I feel like I've barely used the layout that I developed for last month, so I want to keep it going into September. So the way I create that layout is I just mark off the 6 areas. They're each 7 squares with a square in between. If you're using the Bear and Fig notebook, I write the circle in the middle, the day of the week below. I put a little calendar up in the top. You could really do anything. Then once I've blocked it out in pencil, I go over it with my Pigma Micron, and from there we are going to color in those black circles. Now the thing is, you don't want to do that with your fine liner or your Pigma Micron. It'll bleed through if you do something that heavy, so use a brush marker like the Faber-Castell. White gel pen for the numbers. I'm doing my month title in marker and then using a very small pointed fine liner to just do a shadow. And then we get to have some fun, and we're going to do some of those colorful asters. So continuing the color palette that we've already developed, I'm just doing a whole bunch of circles for the stamens. You can see when I erased my pencil, I got a bit of a black mark there above Thursday, but I'm going to cover it up with flowers. I just went over it with a really dark purple flower, and you can barely see that smear. There's almost always a way to fix stuff. Even if you need to use washi tape or ripped paper, there's always a way. There's always a way to get out of your mistake. And yeah, I'm just doing this big, messy cluster of asters. It's a lot of fun. Same rules, well, they're not rules, but same ideas apply. I'm blending my colors, layering the marker, doing the gray leaves, and then you'll see I'll take that light gray and I'll add kind of that pretty shadow that I did on the second Asters illustration. It just fills everything out really nicely. I've got a spot in the top corner there for my notes, again using that really small fine liner, the 005, for a shadow on the lettering. And then I like this layout because it gives me a lot of space for my lists, my to-do list, because I tend to use my journal pretty heavily. So that's our month of September. I can't believe it's September. We've got the Dutch door cover page with our affirmations below. I've got a nice big calendar for all my September stuff. We're gonna track some good habits and goals and kind of set some intentions for the autumn. And then I have a fun weekly layout that's really fun to draw. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to get the cover page on Patreon. Patreon if you want to support the channel. This is a great way to do it. You get so much extra content every week and every month. And thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring our video today. I wanted to highlight this class by artist and illustrator Carolyn Wiedemann. She's teaching watercolor illustration. She teaches you how to digitize your artwork. She talks about lettering and typography. And I think if you love this channel, you might really get something out of this. Most Skillshare classes are under an hour long. They fit into your busy schedule. And like I said, you can take just about anything from Instagram to how to care for your houseplants. Remember, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the video description can try 2 months of premium membership for free.